What's going on, everyone? You're listening to 99 Yards here with your host, Adibot. And today we got a special guest on the show. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Coss Marte, CEO of Combody.
Yes, sir. So we're gonna be getting into some stuff that's happened, and you just want to say like kind of your past and everything, just a little rundown of it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna tell you a little bit about myself. I'm born and raised in New York. Still live here. Probably gonna die here.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I I was somebody that started a company called Combody where we hire people coming out of the prison system to teach fitness classes, and it was all derived from my personal experience where I
Mm-hmm.
ended up in the prison system myself.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in a pretty drug infested neighborhood in New York City, in the Lower East Side of New York, and at that time, in the 80s and 90s, it was crazy over here.
Mm-hmm.
Every 10 steps you took, you saw a heroin needle, you saw drug lines down the block, and as a kid, with an immigrant parent. My mom came from the Dominican Republic when she was 6 months pregnant with me. We ended up in a small little tenement apartment in my aunt's house.
Mm-hmm.
We basically lived on a couch together, and um,
Wow.
and that was my life. And as I grew up, I understood that I needed money because my mother
Mm-hmm.
couldn't provide anything but food and basic necessities, and I wanted more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as a kid, I always aspired to be rich. And I remember going to school and people telling me, "What do you want to grow up to be?" And I told my teachers I wanted to be rich. And so I got into the world of drugs because it was the first opportunity that
Mm-hmm.
I could see that avenue happening. And so as a kid, I started selling drugs at 13. Quickly escalated to being one of the most biggest drug delivery services in New York City. At 19, I was making over $2 million a year, and I was running a team of over 20 people.
Wow.
It was a crazy operation in the city.
Hmm. So we'll be getting to that. As y'all know, we do have to get. I have to give out a little 30-second announcement here about Anchor, just so I can get paid and that. So y'all know how that goes. But anyways, y'all can we can get into it. Unless you're on YouTube, we're just gonna go straight into it. But anyway, so let's start off. So you said you started dealing at 13, right? So that's great. So like,
Yeah.
I heard that it was mostly like, were you around with your family or like, what was your family into that? Like, how's that
Yeah,
going?
no, I had basically my whole family lived in this building, 42 Riven Street.
Hmm.
Lived in the same floor with all my cousins and aunts, and it was just like maybe 30 of us,
Yeah.
uh,
So,
like cousins wise.
oh wow.
And I followed the steps of my older cousins who were already like selling weed, smoking,
Hmm.
dealing coke.
And you said you were so you came from an immigrant family, right? And you said that you're like the firstborn of that your family that was born here in America.
Yeah.
So, what was the reason that like they came over? So,
Yeah, I mean, what most immigrants, parents, and family members come to U.S. for. They came here to give a better lifestyle. For
hmm
us. They come from a impoverished place. Dominican Republic. It was,
hmm
there was not a horrible place where they came from because they came from like a farm, poor land, but
hmm
it's a beautiful land. You got food, you got and you got tropical weather out
yeah,
there. So
oh yeah,
it's not a bad land
hmm
to live in, but you aspire to give your kids more. So you hear America and you see and you hear money, and that's what
yeah.
my family to come here to succeed is.
hmm So you said so as we said you we started at 13. Was there really another option at that point like that you thought of that you wanted to take, or was that like kind of the only outlet that you had to get money because as you said you wanted to get rich?
Yeah, I mean, there was, I could get like, I was making money when I was a little kid, like selling baseball cards and all that
Hmm.
stuff, and running around the streets,
Hmm.
shoveling
Yeah.
snow or opening up a 500 in the summer, washing cars and things of that nature. Um, but real money, there's no real other avenue. Uh,
Hmm.
I remember at that time, um, minimum wage was like 3.25 in the city.
Oh wow,
Uh,
that's crazy.
it's how do you survive with $3 and twenty
Yeah.
five cents? And that's what it was. So and there was people surviving off of that. With
Hmm.
public assistance and all that stuff. But as a kid, and I had multiple jobs. I had side hustles here and there.
Hmm.
So yeah, I did try to go legally, a few times, but it was not enough for me.
It was, yeah, you don't get that success, and I know like some stories I've heard that like you make like a good 100K like easy. So it's like it's hard to get away from that whenever you're making that type of money, I guess.
It's not easy money. People
Yeah,
think,
it's not. Yeah.
yeah, people think like, oh, I'm gonna go sell drugs tomorrow. I'm
Oh
gonna
yeah.
hey, like it took a long time for me to get there.
Hmm.
And it didn't happen overnight.
Yeah. Um, but I also heard that you started off as like more of a middleman where you were just getting money for like people at school and then going to get the drugs and then give them back and then get a piece of that. Is that how it
Yeah,
started?
I mean, as a kid, I was going to school, and I was the kid that was known, to get the weed. I was smoking weed before anybody else,
Hmm.
and so we were all like scramble up. They were, I would get $5 from all my friends, and I go down the block to my
Hmm.
cousin, on the corner, and be like, "Yo, can I get a nickel?" And we're going down the block to, smoke. And so I was that middleman where like, yo, that everybody's scrambling money, let's buy something, and then we're going to
Yeah.
smoke. Yeah, it was like a supply and demand that really got me into the game.
Yeah. So so this escalated and you were at 19 you said you were making like 2 mil, right?
Yeah, I was making over $2 million a year, around $5 million in revenue per
That's
year.
that's crazy. So I mean, um so like what were you doing? Like how'd you get that money? Because I know there's like a process in actually using the money. Like were you all actually laundering it or just what was that like?
Yeah, I was definitely not laundering it.
Okay.
I was I was just spending money. I
Right.
had at that time I had 5 vehicles, all from the latest year. Just balling out,
Mhm.
going
Did
out.
people suspect anything? Like whenever you try to like make big purchases like that?
Um, I never really got like the feds knocking on my door because of that.
Hmm. Yeah. Was it okay? So you said the city like you grew up in, was it like kind of what was the area like?
I mean, the Lower East Side now it's like a gallery, hipster,
Hmm.
a gentrified neighborhood. Back then, it was primarily like Black and Hispanic, families living down here.
Hmm.
Mostly Hispanics, Dominican, Puerto Rican, um, and it was a real community. It was a very tight community, but also
Hmm.
it's dangerous. So if you were not from around here, you were probably gonna get G checked.
Really?
Like you
That's
couldn't
crazy.
you couldn't walk down a block, and if somebody saw you as suspicion, like some type of gang member, like they're gonna stop you and talk to you.
Yeah, that's
uh,
crazy.
and that's how it was.
So yeah, I'm guessing like so was drugs a big issue in the city, like for whenever you grew up there?
Yeah, I mean the crack epidemic was crazy.
Hmm.
Like it was crack was everywhere. And heroin was even worse.
Really?
I sold heroin a little bit, but I primarily like got into the coke and crack game, at a very early age.
So how okay, so how'd you get into coke exactly? Because I know that weed is a little bit more common to find and you will find a whole bunch of coke or weed dealers and people who want weed. But how'd you get into coke dealing it?
Yeah, I mean back then, everybody sold on a corner. So
Hmm.
people like stood on a corner.
Oh,
Everybody
that's crazy.
owned their own corner. There was no like, you know, now you have delivery services, you have stores, you have all this crazy stuff. Like now back then, um, we stood on the corner, and so I remember
Hmm.
when I was 14 years old, I was selling weed on the corner, and the coke dealer stepped off the block, and
Oh.
this cokehead came up to me, and he was like, "Hey, yo, I need 2 bags," and I was like, "Yo, my boy Kevin's gonna come back. Just wait, come back in like 5 minutes." He was like, "Nah, I'm not coming back. I need it right now."
Hmm.
And so I was like, "All right, let me get the money." I went down the block, to the next corner where they sold drugs too.
Hmm.
Got the 2 bags, gave it to him, got a profit. Um, that was the first So I did it. Again, it was like supply and demand. Um,
Hmm. Yeah. So that's great. So like whenever like the person walked up, so you knew who to get it from, or like did you know all the
yeah,
connections already?
yeah. I mean, I know who sold drugs by the time I was like 9 years old. I
Oh, that's
was,
crazy. Oh, okay, I get what you're saying. So, okay, so I also heard that whenever you were running, your whole drug operation, you were running it very like corporate esque with like everyone handing out cards and suits and everything. So, why was that?
that transition happened. So I caught a case. I caught a
Hmm.
case when I was like 18 or
Oh
so.
wow.
I got locked up for like 60 bags of crack.
Oh wow.
I was 17, and I was fighting the case for a while. When you go to court, you go to court every month, and
Hmm.
sometimes it takes about a year and a half. And I was out on bail, and I was still selling coke and all that stuff, but I stopped the crack game when that happened. And then and when that happened, I was going back and forth to court with a suit. And
Oh.
so when I was going to court with a suit, everybody thought that nobody really like recognized me. I remember like stopping people on the street and be like, "Yo, what's good?" And the
Oh.
court was like 15-20 minute walk from my neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so I was like, "Yo, I'm gonna start selling drugs on my suit," you know,
Yeah.
'cause somebody's gonna recognize me.
Yeah.
And so that was the transition. And then the business cards. Uh,
Hmm.
we just came up with the idea. I was basically like writing like these pieces of paper. I was ripping out pieces of paper, like writing my name, writing a phone number,
Hmm.
and just handing it on the street. And back in the day, you operated on a beeper, or you had like the old Nokia phones. And at that time, I decided to make business cards. My boy Joey and I, we went to Kenko's and printed out 5,000 business cards.
Oh, that's right. So, I was about to say, so you mentioned Joey. So he was basically like you were working together with him. So how'd you meet? How'd y'all meet with that?
I met Joey a long time ago. I met Joey, I don't know, when we was young, like very
Hmm.
young. He was known for like just doing a lot of uh, he breaking and entering into
Oh.
cars. He was just like hustling and breaking into cars, stealing whatever, and that was his
Hmm.
hustle. And then he got into the coke game. He was doing coke, like selling coke, off and on. But I was primarily that's what I was known for. That's what I was doing. I
Hmm.
was on the block. This was like 2004,
Hmm.
and he came up to me and he was like, "Yo, I need this amount." I gave it to him. He sold it. He came back within like 30 minutes,
Wow.
and I gave him a little, cut off of it. And then he was like, "Yo, I need more." I was like, "I gave him more." He sold it right away. Came back, and I don't know, that day we just created a bond. We was like, "Yo, if
That's
you want to
crazy.
hustle, like, together, let's do this shit. Let's
That's
go
crazy.
work." He got his money, I got my money, and we just went and bought, coke off of it, and we just worked together. And I already trusted him,
Hmm.
through like previous shit that we did on the street, so
Yeah.
we were friends even before we even got into the coke game.
That's crazy. So how quick were you moving it? Because I know at one point like you had a whole bunch of phones and you were using that and you had drivers and everything. So how quick were you able to like move like coke a day?
We were selling about a kilo a week.
That's crazy.
um
Wow.
yeah, so you know it's about a thousand grams, so you're selling 1,000 grams a week. And we were making like 90 to $100,000 in a off a kilo. you
So
know.
90 to 100,000 a week, you said?
Yeah.
Oh wow. And then how many people were you having in your operation at that time?
So we were splitting up shifts. So there was like 8 drivers, 10 drivers in like early night, day shift, and then we'll have like late night shift all the way to the morning shift. So we'll have like 2 shifts, and that's how we did it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and then we had dispatchers, we had people that were bagging up, um, all types of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Um, someone just asked if you ever had a trap house.
Yeah, we had a few trap houses.
Yeah. um, so is it just like a abandoned house or something like that?
I mean, you call a trap house where you sell drugs out of, you
Yeah,
know. And so when I was a kid, like, yeah, I sold drugs out of a crack house, you know.
that's
Um,
right. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Because so okay, so you said that you went to court or you fought a case at 18, right? So what was it like? What was it like legally? Like, what was it like being around with cops and that type of stuff going on there?
yeah. I mean, it was in the beginning. I mean, I got locked up when I was 13, and
Oh,
multiple times. I got locked up when I was 15. So I got not locked up 9 times throughout my whole, you know, time I was out in the street. Whether it was like small little crimes like smoking weed, or big crimes like
hmm,
selling coke and stuff. Um, yeah, I mean, it was a revolving door. I was not scared of the system. I was actually always mad, and was like had the mentality of like fuck the police, type
yeah,
of, and that was my mindset. Um, yeah, it was that was it. Yeah, and it was obviously you get scared when you go into jail for the first time, and
hmm,
you experience dealing with gangs and all the jail politics and all that stuff, and you just quickly got to adapt and learn, and don't step over your boundaries.
hmm, yeah. So okay, so I heard like a story where basically you were taking like the caffeine pills, right, with you and Joey,
Yeah,
and you were like at a car one day, and you were like you blacked out at the red light or something,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
the cops came and knocked down the doors, and then you had like some of the trunk. So what was that like moment like? Just walk me through that.
Yeah, that was just not one time. That would happen to us like multiple times, because we would stay up for days. Like,
That's crazy.
we would stay up for like 3, 4 days driving, going from customer to customer. This was like before we even had people that we were sending to
Hmm.
people, like this is
Oh,
like me and Joey, like
that's
just
crazy.
hustling
Yeah.
just ourselves, doing everything. Um, and I remember, like, you know, I was knocked out on the car. Like
Yeah.
sometimes I was knocked out on the passenger seat. He's driving, and vice versa. And
Yeah.
so I remember he stopped at a red light. I don't even remember because I was knocked out, and cops woke us up. And we tried to take caffeine pills to, like, keep us up for days, and it worked. But eventually your body gives out and crashes. And so
That's crazy.
I remember, like, the cops coming, knocking on the door, and pulling us out of the car, and they was like, "Yo, you see all this traffic you're causing?" And thank God we didn't even get in an accident, because
Yeah.
he fell asleep with his foot on the brake.
Oh wow.
You know,
That's crazy.
at a red light, putting your feet on the brake, and we there for, I don't know, God how know like knows how long we were there for, because the cops came, and we stepped out of the car, and I remember we had drugs in the back. We used to keep like our stashes in like these Coca-Cola AW40 cans.
Oh.
You screw the top up and you stick shit in it. And
Oh,
so
was it okay? So was it like one of those fake bottles?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like the
one of
top.
those.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then we had always like bullshit groceries in the back,
Oh.
and just mixed
Yeah.
in and and I remember them pulling us out of the car, and they just going through the whole car, searching everything, and I'm just tossing like the AW40 can across, and I'm like, thank God they didn't fucking
Oh,
like,
so once you saw that go, once you saw that's out of there, you were like, you kind of got a sigh of relief.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I got knocked with it. I got knocked with it
Oh,
before.
really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I got caught where they found the AW40 can. I think I had like 10 G's, rolled up in there, and I had weed. It was me and my boy Bacalao. Like, his name is Josh. He's locked up in Sing
Hmm.
Sing right now, doing 15 years.
Hmm.
Uh, but we got pulled over, and they found a can, and they put us on the hood of the car. They was like, "Yo, what was that? What was the coke that was in?" in the can. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? All the coke was in my underwear. So uh,
Yeah.
and so I was like, nah, you bugging. And so they was like, well, we found weed. They try to have us like say some bullshit. And it was like, well, we're looking for. They were telling us, where the guns at. We're looking for guns.
Hmm.
We heard that you guys got guns and all this shit. And I remember, they searched the whole car. That's all they found was the money, and they took it. And then as soon as we got back in the car, they was gonna let us go. And one officer came. He was like, roll the window down, and he threw the can back with everything. And I was like, oh shit, that's
Yeah.
crazy. They didn't take our shit away, and we just kept moving.
That's crazy. So how regularly would that happen where you just get searched and cops would just pull you over and stuff like that?
We got stopped like 2 or 3 times a day sometimes.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, just the way we looked, the way we acted. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I was riding around in I don't know if you guys remember the Dub magazine. Uh,
Oh, I don't nah. I feel like
yeah,
nah.
the Dub magazine was a magazine with cars that had 20-inch rims.
Oh, okay.
And so I had a Cadillac Fleetwood pearl white seats with 22-inch gold rims,
Oh,
with crazy TV, the loudest speaker system in the block,
oh,
and
that's crazy.
so we look like crazy drug dealers. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we got stopped. We got stopped all the time. Like, yeah, we were used to it and we were ready for it.
Hmm.
It
How
was,
quick and how long would those stops be sometimes?
uh, you know, could take like 20, 30 minutes.
Hmm. That's crazy.
Sometimes it was right away.
Oh, really? So it would just be kind of like, was it just like routine for y'all? Just know how to go through it?
Yeah, I mean, we had stashes in the car. We knew that they were not going to find it unless they had dogs. But
Yeah. Did they ever bring out the dogs to get you for that?
uh,
Nah,
uh,
that's crazy. Because yeah, that's crazy. So man, that's okay. So you said having guns. Did you actually have guns on you as well, like in the cars and stuff like that, or just drugs?
nah, when I was on the corner, I had a gun out in the street, but
Hmm.
when we were doing delivery and legit stuff, and I felt like it was corporate, like there was no real threat from the streets.
Yeah.
We were we were pretty incognito, where
Hmm.
we were moving around in different neighborhoods, and we're not like in the hood anymore. We're
Hmm.
selling drugs to like people on Wall Street.
Oh, crazy. Yeah. So okay. So who did you know who you were selling to? Like, did you have regular customers, or did you have like, or were you all always like getting new customers in and out because you know?
No, we definitely had like regular consistent customers.
Hmm.
Our product spoke for itself. We had like the best product out there,
Really?
so people kept coming back. We were getting
Hmm.
bricks. I'm not gonna tell you how we were getting it, but
Yeah.
it was pretty pure. With the stuff
Hmm.
that we were getting.
Yeah, that's crazy. So okay. So who are you hiring? Like a because you said you had like what 20 people working for you.
Like
So
23, 24 people.
yeah. So how many? So who were those people? Like, did you know them
Yeah,
from
those
like a long
were
time?
those were mostly all my friends who I grew up with.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's crazy.
Everybody I was just like people that I smoked weed with on a daily, consistent basis. Like it was
Hmm.
just guys that were on the corner with me. And
Hmm.
I just gave them an opportunity. I felt like that back then.
Hmm. And okay, so I want to talk about this one story, and it's just crazy. So there was a story that you were selling drugs off a horse in a horse carriage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you just walk me through that because how did that go? Because that must be the craziest thing ever, like riding in a horse carriage selling weed.
So this was like the time where like Joey and I were doing all the sales,
Hmm.
ourselves. So it was early on, and we were making a lot of money. So, and I remember we just finished making a sale in like Central Park over there, and we were walking by, and this is the time where we were like taking cabs to make deliveries.
Hmm.
We were riding around back of cab services and stuff like that. Um, and so
Hmm.
we ended up in Midtown. This is like maybe 3, 4 in the afternoon, and we just decided to go up to a guy with a horse and carriage, and we're like, hey, can you give us a ride downtown? And they were like, nah. And we went up to like maybe five other horse and carriages. They all lined up on the same block.
Mhm.
And this lady, she was like, I'll do it, because
Oh,
we were offering them 5Gs.
yeah.
Yeah. We're like, fuck it. We were so careless about money, we didn't give a fuck.
I
And
mean, how much did you have at you on you at the time?
we always carried around like 10 G's in each
That's,
other's pockets. I mean, I've carried like 50, 60,000 in my pockets. Um, it's hard to fit,
yeah.
especially when you have 20s.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, that's how we did it. And we had to go from delivery to delivery, and it was crazy. It was just it happened like so naturally, where all our phone calls that were coming in from our clients were like on our way downtown. And so
Mhm.
as we kept getting calls, we started going down Fifth Avenue, and we're getting like, people calling us from like Madison or like Sixth Avenue, and we're just telling them like, "Yo, meet us on Fifth Avenue. We're on the corner of like 22nd and Fifth on a horse and carriage."
That's crazy.
And we got clients like running up to a horse, and we go down to the block to the hood, and we go to McDonald's with the horse and carriage. Everybody's looking at us like we're crazy. And I remember all the kids were out on the block, and we bought like, I think it was like a bag of apples. And yeah, we bought a bag of apples, and the
Mhm.
kids were feeding the horse apples.
That's crazy. So, like,
Yeah,
how far away was it, like, from where they were supposed to go? Like, were y'all just taking it anywhere and she just let y'all?
yeah, no, we went from Midtown, because basically those horse and wagons, they're only allowed to stay like 10 blocks away from
Hmm.
Midtown. Like, so I think the most southern street they could go to is like 42nd Street,
Hmm.
and or 40 something street, and they were like on 59th Street.
Oh,
And
wow.
so we went all the way down
That's
like
crazy.
below zero, we're in the name streets. Um, and if they get caught, they get hit with a ticket. But nobody stopped us. We just kept doing it, and that was it.
Yeah, that's crazy. Um, so y'all were just riding around in that's crazy. So you said you had people coming up to you. So you were you just calling them and telling them that you were on a horse and then just run up there and
Yeah,
get
yeah.
y'all?
I'm like, yo, I'm on a horse and carriage. Meet me on 22nd and Fifth, and so they're like, what? And I'm like, just get the fuck over. And
That's
we're
crazy.
we're riding like 5 miles per hour. We're like causing traffic and all that shit.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, because the traffic in New York is that's crazy. I was just like maneuvering through there with a horse.
Yeah, we just like took like the side way, like we didn't go right in the middle of the lanes. There's 3 lanes,
Hmm.
and we stood on one of the sides,
That's crazy.
right lane
So
everybody.
yeah, so it was just riding. That's crazy. That's just a crazy visual.
And then we're just smoking weed. We took an e-pill.
Like,
It was
what
crazy.
drugs were you doing at the time? Like because
I
what were
was
you
smoking
doing?
like crazy. I was smoking like 50 blunts a day between both of us. We every day we would buy a box of Philly, and so
That's
the
right.
box of Phillies would be 50 cigars, and so we would roll up everything, smoke that, and we were smoking each like 2 packs of cigarettes.
Hmm.
Uh, so my lungs were destroyed at back
Yeah,
then,
that's crazy.
and
That's crazy.
I don't touch none of that shit.
Yeah, that's
The
crazy.
last time I smoked was like when I went to LA, but I took one pull and I'm like fucking passed out.
Yeah, that's crazy. Um, okay, so now getting to the end of this and basically where you started to like slip up a little, it was basically you said that you had another dispatcher from who's working with you basically start his own operation, try to mimic you kind of in a way. And how'd y'all
Yeah.
catch him basically? Because did something like one of your old customers they were cool with y'all? Like,
Yeah, so one of my dispatchers, he basically started stealing customers away from us.
mhm.
He came up with a separate card. He was selling separate Coke bags. They were in like blue bags,
Mm-hmm.
and so he basically started going up to like, or had his cousin working in our operation, because his cousin was making delivery for us, and so his cousin was doing his side sales of his own coke with his cousin, the dispatcher.
Mm-hmm.
And as they were going to other people, they were like, "Yo, this is the new number. This is the new number. Call this number." And they were giving out, selling their coke.
Oh wow.
And
Oh, so did he have it on your card and then say that that was like the new number?
he just made up his own shit. I don't even
Oh.
know. I never saw the card.
Oh wow.
Um, but I know one of the after a while, it didn't last too long. Maybe a couple months in, while he was doing that shit, one of my clients called me who had my personal number, and he calls me and he's like, "Yo, what's this coke that you selling now? This shit is whack. Like, this it tastes like it's cut, And I'm like, "What the
Oh,
fuck
so
you
it's
talking
from a whole. So he got his own coke going. It's
about?"
not
He got
even
his
like
own
from you.
coke.
Okay.
Nah,
Oh
yeah, he
wow.
got his own coke, and so he's selling his own shit, and that's why he fucked up. Where the client hit me, and I'm like, "Wait," and he was like, "By the way, the driver gave me a new number," and I'm like, "What new number? What the fuck is you talking about?"
Mm-hmm.
And so I take that number from him. I call that phone number. This motherfucker picks up. I'm like, "Yo, what the fuck is
Did
you?"
he realize who it was?
Once he heard
Or
my voice, yeah,
yeah,
once he heard my voice,
that's
and,
crazy.
and he quickly hung up on me. I had this guy set. We had a condominium for him
Oh
in
wow.
Midtown. We got him a car. He was getting paid a salary. Like he was set. All he had to do was just answer the phone, and he was collecting the money from the drivers at the time
Damn.
and giving them the work. And so at the time, um, when I heard that, I hit up. I basically went over there and hit up my boy, hit up Joey and somebody else, and we went over there. And he disappeared with cash, a whole bunch of coke, and then we only saw him one time after that. And so he called the cop. The cops on us saying that we had guns. And so
Oh.
basically,
Oh, so he snitched on you? So like,
yeah, one of my boys saw him. One of my boys saw him down the block.
damn.
And he was like, "Yo, that's that motherfucker over there." And so while we were running down the block, he was like 2 blocks away. He calls. He's calling the cops, and and uh, and as soon as we confront him, the cops are there,
Damn. So
and,
that's.
then he got into the cop car,
Oh.
and we couldn't touch him, and then that was the last time we saw him.
Oh. So.
I know he didn't snitch. He didn't. He was not the one that told on the whole coke operation.
Uh huh.
Somebody else did.
Oh.
And yeah,
Okay.
one of my drivers basically got caught first, and the whole DEA pressed him, and he told them
Uh.
like where everything was at. They were surveilling me and all this shit, and they started picking us off one at a time.
Really. So I also heard that like whenever. So you took his phone, right? The dispatcher, right?
Yeah,
You
so
took his.
I took the dispatcher's phone because I'm thinking like, yo, he stole my customers' numbers. Like, this is, I'm calling back. All my customers are going to be calling.
Oh. Okay.
So I'm thinking like every person that has this number is my old
So you're
customer.
thinking just basically like it's already customers that I already had.
Yeah,
It's just okay.
but there was new people calling that phone, and
Oh.
and come to find out, one of the cars that he had ended up in a DEA agent's lap, and now the DEA is, calling us for drugs and all this stuff, and so we just sending people, we sending drivers over there. At the time, Joey got locked up for like some minor shit, like,
Mm-hmm.
and he had to do like a year in prison. Um, and so at the time, I was running the whole operation by myself, and I just
Mm-hmm.
didn't trust anybody to handle the phones except for myself.
Oh wow. Did you think that something was off whenever there was like new customers, or did you kind of know who it was, the DA or
I,
whatever?
it was crazy because the first time this guy called,
Mm-hmm.
I was driving. Um, I have one of my guys, one of my delivery guys. He's in the car in the passenger
Mm-hmm.
seat, and this guy calls. He's like, "Yo, I'm on." I remember exactly where he was. He was on a 23rd and 8th by the uh, Dallas BBQs over there, and I pulled over and I see this guy, and I'm in my M3, and my boy Bacalao just jumps out, and then he sits in the back, and I'm like, I told my boy, I was like, yo, this nigga look like a cop, like straight
Damn.
awkward, yo. And I should have trusted my gut, you know.
Damn. And
And
you kept selling to him.
yeah, we just kept
Damn.
selling, kept selling.
Damn. So do you think if you cut him off, or if you do you think that they would have been able to track you? Or how does that go?
Yeah, I think that eventually, we would have sent like drivers over there, but that was the only time that they caught me directly,
Oh wow.
in a vehicle. I didn't even do the sale.
Mm-hmm.
I was just driving. I didn't even like really talk to the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
But he still saw you.
yeah, he saw me
Yeah.
and he was recording us.
Oh wow.
He
Okay.
was he was tapped at that time.
That's crazy. So okay, so here's a question that I had. So do you think so what happens if you never take that phone away? Like looking back at it, like hindsight in 2020, what do you think happens if you never took that phone away?
If I never what?
If you never took that phone away from the dispatcher?
Man, I don't know. I don't know. I think I would have been still operating. I don't think
Really? That's how
I would
crucial that. Damn.
my company Combody would have probably not never been started. So
Damn. Yeah,
I feel like
so
everything happens for a reason.
yeah, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
It is a good thing. So I mean, now you got combat and everything. But okay, so whenever you got caught, that day that you got caught, did you feel like even before that day, like were you kind of feeling that something was up with it and something was feeling weird?
Yeah, I mean that day, I was like sending my drivers from location to location, and
Mm-hmm.
back then we used to use like radio next cell phones. So they were like
Mm-hmm.
basically like chirps. We called them chirps back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I sent a driver and they got to the location and I told the client to come down, they were getting caught.
Oh
And so
wow.
it was about 9 drivers that got caught, that got sent to different locations. And I remember that night it was so busy. It was Thursday. My list is just getting bigger and bigger. Um, and I remember I was like, "Fuck, these guys must have went out or some shit. Like they must be partying." And I was like, "You know what? I got to go make this sale myself. I got to get this money. I can't. We have a service that needs to be up
Yeah.
to par." And so I go downstairs. I also call like drivers from different shifts to come get coke, and
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna take them a while for them to get ready and all that stuff. So I was like, "Fuck it, let me get this shit started." So I grabbed 100 bags of coke, and I stepped out of that trap house, the stash house, and as soon as I stepped out of the stash house, DA just ran up on me.
Oh wow.
That was a
So
wrap. You know?
yeah, so they where were they exactly? Because like how are they catching everybody? Do you know?
My phones were being tapped, so they
Oh.
could see the next cells and the locations, and they could see also where, because they were the ones calling the phone.
Oh, that's
They were the
crazy.
ones calling the phone, and as I sent the drivers over there, you know, they were getting, picked up one at a time.
That's crazy. So wow. So they got y'all all. So they basically got y'all all in one day.
Now they didn't get everybody; they got
Oh.
11 of us.
Okay. So was there people? Oh, okay. So
So I got my dog over here.
nah, it's all good. I know. You good? You good? So
Yeah,
okay. So okay. So you were so when were you raided though? Like did they raid the stash house after that?
yeah. So that right there, then when I stepped out of the house, they came through, and they showed me the warrant. They actually
Oh.
took me with cuffs upstairs, because we had the stash on the second floor. um and they went in there and they already knew where the drugs were at. So right
Oh,
away I was like, oh shit, these motherfuckers know exactly where the drug is at. So I had at the time I had over like 500 pairs of Jordans.
oh,
So
wow.
I had so many kicks. I was a big collector back then, and uh, I had all the coke in like one box in a certain spot. And as
Oh,
soon as I go up there, they're like, "Where's the drugs at?" I'm like, "What the fuck is you talking about? There's no drugs in here." And they went right to the box. They opened it up.
oh, so they knew exactly what box it
Yeah,
was.
they knew exactly, and that's why I already knew. I was like, there was only three people, that knew where that stash was,
Oh, so okay.
and like two of them I trust, like, with everything I got. I know
Mhm.
they were never gonna tell on me. And it was one guy that, he was one of my drivers. I was cool with him. And he caved in when the time came up. He told on me.
That's crazy. So so now you're taken to like jail, or whatever, and were you sentenced? So whenever you got sentenced, I heard that they gave you back your wallet. They had like 10 tabs of acid in there. So
Yeah, it was not when they sentence you. It takes a long time till you get
yeah.
sentenced. First, you go to jail. You fighting your case for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But when the DEA caught me, they brought me to the precinct.
Oh.
And when I'm in the precinct, they're taking fingerprints. They put you in a cell. You're waiting. They're interrogating. My drivers one at a time. And so they take everything from your wallet. They closed all my accounts, all the shit. And I remember coming in, that one of the officers coming in, and he passes me my wallet. I had a photo of like my son
Mm-hmm.
in that wallet, and then I started looking around, and that was it. And then I had like a little zipper on the side,
Oh.
and inside the zipper there was like, yo, I pulled it out. I was like, yo, there's 10 pieces of acid over here. And I remember all my guys were in different cells, and so each person was in a different cell. And I tell my boys, I'm like, yo, I got this acid over here. And they were like, yo, pass some over. I want to drop one. And I'm like, nah, fuck that. And I took all of them. I took all 10 pieces of acid, and I was tripping my ass off.
Damn. Damn.
Uh,
Because like acid's like one of those drugs where it like makes you like just go crazy. Because like you start seeing stuff, don't you?
nah, I mean, you see, you feel, I don't know, you feel like you don't see shit. People, I don't know. For me, I've never seen anything like crazy like that where
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing like three heads and shit like that.
Yeah.
If for me, every time I've taken it was like I feel like super duper high,
Mm-hmm.
and everything is just so funny to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I cannot stop laughing. Like
Oh.
you laugh so much that your jaw gets locked in a smiling position. It's
That's
crazy.
that's crazy. So
It's a
so
good
were you being
drug.
sentenced that same day?
No, no, you don't get. So you see the
Oh,
judge.
okay.
You see the judge a couple, maybe like 24 hours after.
Mm-hmm.
And so I saw the judge, and I remember I was like still a little bit high. And I remember in the interrogation room, they were trying to tell me, who's my connect. They were trying to get me to snitch, and I'm like, yo,
Oh
fuck.
yeah.
And I was like, y'all niggas are stupid. Y'all, you motherfuckers gave me acid right now. And and they were like, what? I was like, yeah, you just gave me back all the acid I had in my wallet. And I'm twisted right now, and I'm laughing and shit. Yeah. So it's taken back my cell, and then when I see the judge is like, so yeah, I hear you're on acid, right? And I was like, yeah. It was like, how much time you facing? And the DA was like, we're gonna hit him with kingpin charges, which
Oh.
meant like 15 to life. Um, and then once I got to my lawyer, he was like, yo, you the best I could do is 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm fighting. I fought my case for about a year. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and Santa Rikers Island.
Yeah, and so wait, what are kingpin charges be? I know there's something like RICO charges where it's like if you're part of a gang, like everyone part of that gets taken down. So is there anything like that?
Yes, pretty much the same shit.
Okay.
Kingpin charges. You get caught with a certain amount of drugs, selling a certain amount. You get hit with that. running a huge
Mm-hmm.
operation. Like,
You're saying. So, all right. So, um, let me put that back in. So, yeah. So it's like, so what did they get you? So how many people did they get with you, and like how many did they not get? You know?
so they got 11 of us. So pretty much half of the team
That's
they,
crazy.
they didn't get, and so the business kept operating when I was gone.
Mm-hmm.
It kept operating. People were scared. They were not going as hard. One of my boys took over. Um, they I don't know, they didn't do too well, operating
Yeah.
the whole thing, and then Joey came back out from,
Yeah.
so while I was locked up. No, when I got caught, Joey was already locked up. He was already like
Mm-hmm.
for like 4 months. He was coming out for like 7, 8 months. And so when I was in there, he got out, and then he took over the phones again,
Yeah.
and then he brought the business back up. But you know, motherfuckers is idiots because those phones were still being tapped.
Oh no.
And so it was like they basically, like, I remember calling the phones when I was locked up. I called one of the phones, and the message was like, "Yeah, please contact this number if you need extra services," as a voice message.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were trying to redirect people to a different new number, and
Oh, that's crazy.
that's how it went down.
Yeah. So okay. So what was prison like? So because I know you came in there and you had like a whole bunch of medical issues that you didn't know about.
Yeah, so when I went in, prison, it's crazy. I mean, the drug dealing didn't stop. I was still selling, and getting people to bring me it. Like, some of my team members that didn't get caught, they were bringing me drugs while I was locked up.
Mm-hmm.
I was hustling in there, um, sneaking in stuff through the visiting room, getting cops to bring shit in for me,
Mm-hmm.
and it just, the hustle didn't stop, the mentality didn't stop, until I got sentenced, and then I got sentenced to 7 years and 5 parole, which combined
Mm-hmm.
meant like a 12-year, sentence, so 7 plus 5. And when I went upstate, they take all these medical exams. They take your blood test, they give you, vaccines. You don't even know what the hell you're taking. You're just lining up and doing whatever the officer's telling you to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first day. And I remember like 2 weeks, um, being upstate. They called me down to the medical unit, and they were like, "Yo, your cholesterol levels are through the roof. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't start eating correctly or start exercising, you could probably die within 5 years." And
That's crazy.
that, like, shocked me. I was like, "Yo, I got 7 years. I'm not gonna fucking die in this bitch,"
Mm-hmm.
And so that motivated me to start working out, and
Mm-hmm.
I started working out obsessively.
That's crazy. So, you lost 70 pounds, right? Something like that.
I lost 71 pounds in 6 months.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And did you lose that all in or was that called isolation or whatever?
No, no, I ended up in the I didn't lose all my weight in solitary confinement.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
I ended up in solitary at different times, but um,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I was in a cell though. I was locked up, and then I was going out to the yard running and all that stuff.
Okay. And then I also heard that you got like other people like involved with that and started like giving people to work out in prison and stuff. Is that kind of where that started from?
Yeah, so I lost all that weight, and I caught the eyes of other inmates. So there was one guy that came up to me and was like, "Yo, I want to start working out with you." He was
Mm-hmm.
extremely overweight,
Oh.
and we started jogging together, and he started jogging with me, and then I became like a so-called trainer in there, and somebody else
Yeah.
started coming up to me, and so we just formed this like group of camaraderie, like to work
Mm-hmm.
out it with each other, and then I helped over 20 inmates who's over 1,000 pounds combined.
That's
We would
crazy.
just like form a circle around me, or somebody else would lead the exercises, and
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think I was going to start a business behind it.
Yeah.
It was just something that we just did as a friendship.
Mm-hmm. And so okay, so and then a couple months before you were released, you got into an issue with an officer, right? And then you said that was completely made up and like not supposed to happen. Like, what was that moment like? I mean, because I also heard that you basically told your son or something that you're gonna be out and you weren't able to come out because of that.
Yeah, so towards the end of my incarceration, I ended up in solitary confinement, in 24-hour lockdown because this officer decided to search me, and as he was searching me, um, he was searching me really aggressively, and
Mm-hmm.
as he was going between my legs, I like twitched my body,
Oh.
and as soon as I twitched my body, he punched me behind my head, and he said, "Today's not my day. Don't fuck with me." And so he knocked me out. I remember seeing like stars for a second, and I got back up and turned around on the officer to avoid another hit. But he said I was attempting to attack him, and so
Damn.
he presses the alarm for the whole prison. About a half a dozen officers come to the scene. They break me down. They throw me in the box, and for a charge like that, if I was found guilty for that charge, I would be facing 3 more years in prison.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, I was out for early release. I did this program. I had about 2 months to go
Mm-hmm.
before I was being released, and I told my son, I was like, "Yo, I'm coming home." I taught my son ABCs through a prison phone.
That's crazy.
So like I was talking to him every day. I was sending him letters all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, his mom was bringing him up as much as possible to the visiting room,
Mm-hmm.
but it was difficult to tell him like, "Yo, I'm gonna be here for another year." And so I ended up, facing another year in prison behind that situation.
Oh wow. So you got
And
out a year late.
and
So
that's
I
when
mean,
in solitary confinement, that's when I was contemplating on like really what I wanted to do.
okay, that's where
And
that came. Okay.
that's where comedy came about. Like
Mm-hmm.
while I was in that cell, just thinking like, "Yo, I need to start thinking differently. I can't sell drugs anymore. Like I got my
Mm-hmm.
son, do the right
Mm-hmm.
thing."
So
And
that's when it hit you that like you can't get back into that.
so
So
comedy came about.
yeah,
You
I
know,
mean, because once you get out, you can't like if you get like if you're in prison or something, like you can't get a job easy at all. So it's like that's
yeah.
crazy. So like did you know that like right as you got out you wanted to start that business? And then you kinda knew what it was.
Yeah, I mean, I got out and I knew what I wanted to do. I wrote out what I wanted to do while I was in the
That's crazy.
box.
That's crazy.
And I started doing it in local parks and
Mm-hmm.
started going up to people randomly, telling them like, I'm selling fitness, and
Mm-hmm.
I took the same tactics that I
Yeah.
used as a drug dealer and just went up to people and just hustled, my ass
Mm-hmm.
off.
Okay, so I had a question, and what's the difference between probation and parole? So is it basically like you have a PO officer and stuff like that, or what's the difference between that? Because
Uh, it depends. Different states are different.
mm-hmm.
Um, you know, in New York, parole is a more serious charge.
Mm-hmm.
So in New York, if you get probation, um, you pretty much doing jail time or probation, or you get just probation.
Mm-hmm.
So probation is uh, like a first time offender, catching like a felony charge maybe, or high
Mm-hmm.
misdemeanor charge or something like that.
Yeah.
But
So
parole, it comes after you do, real prison
yeah,
time.
so were you on parole at the time?
Yeah, I got out on parole.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've been on probation, parole a few times. So
Mm-hmm. That's right.
so
So what was it? Okay, so what was life like getting out? Because I know for some people it's really tough, but it seemed like you already had a plan whenever you got out. So
I mean, it was extremely tough. I'm not gonna lie. Like I
yeah.
couldn't find a job. Like fitness was not paying the bills. I had my son to provide
Mm-hmm.
with. Like I lost everything I had. I
Mm-hmm.
had no money at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had my Jordans, and that was it. Like I basically took my sneakers and sold them.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
and that's how I started Comedy.
Oh, for real. That's crazy. So, was there any? Okay, what were some restrictions that like you still had coming out of prison? Like,
I mean, parole you have from you have to get up, 7 a.m. I mean, 7 a.m. You can't leave your house until 7 a.m.
Oh, really?
You have to be at home by 9 p.m.
That's right.
You can't drink, you can't smoke, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
You can't be around somebody that's been incarcerated. You know, if you get locked, if I was standing on
Hmm.
the street and I was hanging out with somebody that was on parole too, and the cops stopped us, we're both going getting locked up just because we're
Really?
hanging out with each other.
Like just even on some simple stuff, like.
There was, there was people in my building that I lived with, family members that we were on parole at the same time. Like
That's right.
I couldn't even, I hung out with them and saw them and all that stuff. But if cops would stop us, we would get locked up.
That's crazy. So, damn. But okay. So, Body basically. So, tell us. Okay. So, tell us how like basically what it is and like how that got started and how that's going.
Yeah, so Combat is an all body weight exercise program.
Hmm.
It was derived from like all the stuff that I've done to myself while I was locked up. The same regimen that I went through
Hmm.
to lose 70 pounds in 6 months and to get cut up and work out. That's what I started implementing in the streets. And as the business started growing, I started hiring more people. You know, and the people that I hired were people that were locked up. People that I knew that was
Hmm.
incarcerated with, people that I met on the street that needed an opportunity because society didn't want to give them a second chance or provide them a job. And so this was a avenue for me to not only give back, to people that I was incarcerated with and people that I knew that was, affected by the system, but also change perceptions with people that wanted to work out with us. Most people thought that, people that have been in the system are bad people, and
Hmm.
I feel like people just need to listen to our stories because there was some way, somehow, or some story that ended up us in that state of mind in that system.
Hmm.
And if we don't get a second chance, most of the time we're going to revert back to that same, revolving door. And so that's been my mission is to hire as many people coming out of the prison system as
Yeah.
possible.
Sure.
Uh,
Yeah. I mean, people get out like people have like a wrong perception whenever you go to prison or whatever. It's like, but you're still there for like 10 years and people don't want to go back. So it's like they want to change their life completely, but people really don't look at that whenever they've been to prison. I guess that's what they look at first. That's
Absolutely.
great. That's crazy. So I had a question. So I've seen like pictures of your workout facility and everything, and it's themed with a prison theme, right?
Yeah.
And what was the idea of that, and why was that? Because I thought that was the coolest thing ever with like the bars and everything.
Yeah. I mean, that was an idea that I always had. Because in the beginning I was working out of a park. From
Hmm.
a park, I started like renting out little ballet studios. Um,
Oh.
and I was like running stuff there. And I remember there was one publication that came about. This lady came up to me and was like, I want to do an interview with you. And she took one of my classes, and I was like, for sure, let's do it. And she was like, what do you want to see this happening? You want to open up your own facility? And I was like, yeah, I want to open up my own correctional facility.
Yeah.
I was playing games, but I started coming up with the idea of like right there and then I was like, yeah, I want to open up a spot where people take a mugshot on the wall.
Oh,
They get
what?
5 minute
That's crazy.
showers. They go through a prison gate before class. And I want to create some type of
Oh,
theme.
that's
Uh,
crazy. I love that.
and that was and when she wrote that publication, I was like, oh shit, I put this shit out there. Now I got to do it.
Oh,
So
so that was before everything happened.
yeah, that was
Oh,
before.
so you just oh, okay.
Yeah, I was just talking shit, and then shit came up to being something.
Wow, that's crazy. Because I saw pictures, I was like, that's the coolest thing ever. Because like you got the bars and everything.
And I did that so not only for just branding, but also like to really bring awareness.
Hmm.
When people come in, like they know what they're gonna get into.
Hmm.
Because in the beginning, when I was telling people I'm gonna do a prison style boot camp, some people told me I was crazy. They didn't want to be a part of it. I got discriminated a few times, so I wanted people to come in and be like, "Yo, this is." I wanted them to know what we were about. And on top of that, we have like a lot of prison informative stuff on the walls. Like you could get all the judicial messed up things that we have in America.
Mm-hmm.
Like, 25% of the people that are incarcerated in the whole planet, live over here in the U.S. and in a correctional facility.
Mm-hmm.
But we only make up 5% of the world's population. Like, so this is
Wow.
a system made up, to affect a lot of people that have been, who are minorities, Black, Hispanics, and we show the differences on the walls that we display in combat.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy. So that's crazy. I mean, I love the motive you have behind it. I mean, it's as you said, you're trying to hire all these people that have been to the prison system and everything. So I love that. So I mean, how far do you think you want to like take this? Is this like just your thing now, and you should keep doing it?
I want to be, the next CrossFit.
Mm-hmm.
I want to have, multiple facilities in
Mm-hmm.
multiple cities. I feel like there's so many people that write me jail mail, that want to work for us.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, so okay.
so many people that want to franchise this opportunity. And so I feel like if I could give, a second chance to somebody else coming out wherever they're at, in the space of fitness.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the talent that we grow to gain while we incarcerated. We're working
Mm-hmm.
out nonstop, so
And you
we're
said it's
burning
all body weight, right? So it's stuff that
so body
you
weight.
can learn over there, and then like if you really want to keep doing it, like you can implement it at your home and everything, right?
Exactly. You could do it in a small constrained space, just like I did in my prison cell.
That's crazy. Yeah, because that's another thing. A lot of people like they get into it and they can't work out anywhere but a gym. So it's like you're not open to a gym 24/7.
Yep.
You so that's
And we
crazy.
have we have on demand videos too.
Mm-hmm.
People could like tune in for $14 a month.
That's dope.
They
Yeah.
could watch all our pre-recorded videos and not only help their body, but also support somebody that's been coming out of the system that needs you know
Mm-hmm.
a financial support.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that's gonna wrap it up for me today. If you want to go ahead and give us some more on Combody and tell us where we can find you and where we can find your company Combody, just go ahead and do that.
Yeah, you can hit me up on Instagram just like Adiba did.
Yes, sir.
You just went on a DM, it went down in the DM. So hit us up at Conbody, CONBODY. That's again CONBODY. You could just check out our website, conbody.com, to sign up. And I appreciate y'all.
Yeah, thank you for coming on the show again. And for everyone watching, I will catch you on the next one. Thank you. See you.
Peace.